Hi, welcome back to Man vs Film and happy Friday the 13th. I've finally got to the end of my Friday the 13th Odyssey where I revisited the complete series, and now I want to rate them and rank them for you in a sort of order of my preference from 12th to 1st, the best of the Friday the 13th in my opinion. Also on this video we've got a very special guest in the form of Bryan Lomax from Bryan Lomax Movie Talk, who is here to tell you his 5 favourite kills from the entire series, and that'll be at the end of this video, so remember to stay back, check that out and subscribe to Bryan's channel, which is truly a fantastic movie channel. So let's move on to my least favourite Friday the 13th, and it should be noted that I do get some enjoyment out of all of these movies, so even though it is my least favourite, it is one that I probably would end up watching again at some point. So number 12 on my list is Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. I had a lot of sort of issues with this one, and the main one being that Jason's not actually the killer. You've got lots of things that it could have been. I said in my review that I would really have liked Tommy to have maybe been a little bit more playful, whereas he could have been the killer before he becomes him at the end, but I don't think it really sticks to that. The characters are kind of jokey. I do like the mother and son who are just crazy. They're fun, the deaths are okay, but I can't get away from the whole fact that it's not Jason doing the murders. I can understand it in part 1, here not so much, and some of the acting's woeful. The actor playing Tommy Jarvis is just atrocious, don't like him at all. Number 11 on my list, and one that I've seen a few times and it kind of surprised me, was Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Again, we don't get Jason in all his glory. We get a kind of supernatural lore built into the Friday the 13th series that we just don't need. Like I said in my reviews, logic doesn't really belong in this series anymore, and I didn't really want it. I didn't want them to start to try and build a supernatural lore in the 9th entry of a series. I just wanted to see my Jason, the character that I love, slaughtering teens haphazardly. And I just don't get it. In fact, there's no teens really in this movie either. It's all relationships to the Voorhees family and those kind of iterations, and I don't think it fully worked. It does have some nice kills, as all these movies have, some nice special effects, and it does kind of hint towards that Freddy vs Jason movie that we all kind of wanted at the time. Number 10 is Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. This was one that I've seen a lot as well, and it just didn't hold up in watching all the Friday the 13th together. It felt as if they were pulling their punches with some of the gore, and you just kind of wish they'd went a little bit further with some of it. They do have one of my favourite kills in this movie, but I feel that it's a little lightweight. Again, it takes Jason away from Crystal Lake, which is something that I like the idea of them trying. I never feel that it fully works at any point at all, and then they don't really get to Manhattan until the last 15-20 minutes of the movie, which for a movie called Jason Takes Manhattan, it should get there a lot sooner. Number 9 on my list is Jason X. Now the reason this is as high up as it is in mine is because I do like the first kind of like 45 minutes of this movie. I like the fact that they kind of test Jason because of his ability to regenerate, and then he gets cryogenically frozen. I like the idea of this sort of space ship picking him up and accidentally unfreezing him to let him run rampage on this. It's the second half of the movie where it feels a little bit wacky, but I do kind of like some of the kills in this movie. I like some of the characters, which goes a long way. I like the fact that there's sort of army guys, soldiers on this ship who want to take down Jason, even though they can't do it. But I like the idea of having some sort of special trained people to show that not even they can handle this behemoth. Number 8 is Friday the 13th Part 3, a movie that I wish I liked more because there's a lot of things in it that really do work. Jason gets his hockey mask in this one, which I like. There is a couple of good kills in this. There is the woeful biker gang of 3, which I just don't like at all. It's all sort of like shot in daylight at the start of the movie. I want to get to night time. I want to see Jason stalking. This movie doesn't get there fast enough for my liking. And then the fact that he's out and about killing sort of people that live around about the town, should be sticking there to the kids that come to Camp Crystal Lake. And the movie just changes a little bit of things about it. Like I said, I do like this movie, but in the whole grand scheme of things, it's kind of down there for me. Number 7 is Freddy vs Jason, a movie that I just know isn't that great, but damn, I love to see these horror icons together battling it out on the big screen. You get sort of both aspects of these two great iconic characters, they come together in a really interesting and well thought out fashion. I like the way they get them together, and I like a lot of the kills. It's the CG that really puts me off here, and the overly jokey tone that Freddy takes later on. But I think Jason in this movie is completely solid, and I like what they do with him here. Number 6 is a movie that I thought would have been way down at the bottom when I was thinking about checking out the Friday movies again. But surprise, surprise, Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, was a movie that I really enjoyed. I remember it being hilariously funny because of the telekinesis. And it is. But it is in a super awesome way because it gives us something that we haven't seen before in a Friday the 13th movie. We have this family relationship, and we also have the teen kids next door who are going to get slaughtered at some point. You have this girl Tina who learns to use her telekinesis to fight back against Jason in some of the most awesome ways I've seen in the movie. There is a terrible ending with Tina's father, which I just, you know, really niggles at me, and I wish we had seen the fully uncut version of this with all the gore added in, and I think it's pretty gory anyway, but you know, even more would have been terrific. This is one of the unsung heroes of this series, if you ask me. It's one that I had a lot of fun with this time round. Number 5 is the Friday the 13th remake, a movie that was really a shock because I did not expect this to be as much fun as I did. The last time I saw this in the cinema, it was a bit of a slog. It felt, I don't know, just not right, not the right Friday the 13th. But watching it in amongst the full collection, you can see all the things that they lifted from the series and how they created something pretty damn fun and interesting. And a shame it didn't move on from there. It was updated because they couldn't really do a like-for-like remake because it just wouldn't have sat right in amongst all the current horror movies that were out at that time. But they did something that was pretty damn good, and I wish it had continued to build up in the Friday the 13th legacy and brought more sequels. It's a shame it didn't, but you know what, I still had a lot of fun with this one. Number 4 on my list is the original Friday the 13th, a movie that kind of sort of cemented this character. Even though Jason wasn't in it, it gave us a kind of murder mystery. It gave us the sort of core elements of horrors that we would know: the cabin in the woods, the crazy guy Ralph who tells everybody they're doomed, doomed, I tell you. It's just got all the fun things. It's got the good practical gore, in particular I think in Kevin Bacon's death scene in this is one of my favourites as well. It just does everything right, and although it's a little bit slower by today's standards, it's still an excellent movie, and because it started this legacy, it deserves its place high up in this list, and this is where I put it. Number 3 is Friday the 13th Part 2, a movie that I thought really up the ante on everything in Part 1. It brings back the original character who survived, only to take her out pretty quickly, a trend that would happen in later horror series throughout the years. And it gave us Jason. Even though it was Jason with a burlap sack, it's the vicious Jason we've got here, who's no problem in putting a machete into the face of a disabled man. He's brutal, he hunts down these kids. The kids are actually pretty likeable. I like the core group here. It's one of the best casts of characters that I actually attuned to in the series, and I thought it was really a step up from the first one. Huge surprise right here. Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, was a movie that I absolutely loved watching it again. It is, without doubt, tremendous. It gives you all that real Jason aspect that I wanted. That big hulking figure, his face covered in maggots, his unstoppable ability. It kind of hints towards that supernatural. He gets brought back by a bolt of lightning. You've got the Tommy Jarvis character continuing from Part 4, that story that was really interesting. Here he's an adult trying to just stop Jason. You get some really nice character work in here as well. I particularly like the sheriff's daughter, Tommy's beau in this movie. And I think it's all about Jason. And Jason in this one is a lot of fun. He is a huge hulking character that does some pretty fun kills and is pretty kind of funny along the way with it. When I think of Jason from the Friday the 13th movies, this is the movie that I picture. And I'm really surprised it ended as high up as this. Because it's one that I saw a lot, and it's one that I'd kind of written off as not that great a movie. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with Part 6 in this series. And number 1, my favourite Friday the 13th movie, and probably everybody's, is Part 4, the final chapter. I think what makes this better is the fact that you've got the family unit. You've got young Tommy and his mother and sister. Then you have the group of kids along the way. It's not a secluded area of the woods. There is a couple of cabins there. You have Jason, and it feels as if he's really decimating all these people over the one night. There is a real timescale to it. You get some really interesting characters in it. You get some nice direction, some nice kills, even if they're not on screen. Like I think one of the twins that gets murdered, and it's done off camera with a bolt of lightning in the shadows against the building. It's really nice artistic touches. You feel as if it kind of concludes the story. If this finished here, it would be a perfect finale. I think you've got the young performance of Corey Feldman as Tommy. It's a really interesting finale as well, because you're always used to the final girl. You're never quite sure if the kid's going to make it or die at some point, which thankfully lives, and we get that character to move on throughout the series. But yeah, for me, the best one, the one that actually scares me and makes me worried for its characters, is Friday the 13th Part 4. So that's my top 12. I'd love to know what your favourite or what you think the top 3 is. Even just let me know in the comment box below. And as I said, stay tuned, because here comes Mr. Lomax with his top 5 kills in the Friday the 13th series.
Hello there, my name's Bryan Lomax, and Graham has asked me to come on and just discuss my top 5 Friday the 13th kills. Kills are a funny thing, aren't they? Because they're gruesome, they're quite disgusting, we don't really want to see them in real life, and yet on film we just can't seem to get enough of them. What is it that makes a good kill? Well, for me, it's often humour. It's the ridiculousness of things. When they're really over the top, you know, like proper full-on gore, but with a little bit of humour in. That to me is what makes a good kill. So most of these here, you're probably going to see a little bit of humour in. So yeah, let's get into it. Thank you, Graham, for having me on. If you don't know, he is going to be over on my channel doing the exact same thing, so go over and check that out. But yeah, I'm going to start with my least favourite, although this is my top 5, so they're all kind of my favourites. But yeah, I'm going to work my way up to my favourite, starting with number 5, which is from Freddy versus Jason, and it's the moment when somebody gets folded in half inside a bed. He's been stabbed first. I'm not particularly keen on that moment. It's very brutal and that, but for comedy effect, the way Jason finishes it off with folding the bed, it just kind of made me chuckle, I must say. Now, I am aware that this is essentially just a riff on one of the kills from part 6, but I just feel like this one, they shoot it in such a way that you can see it better. For me, the one in 6, it just kind of happens, and the way it's cut, it's like, it's funny, still amusing, but you don't really get the full effect of it as you do here. So yeah, this is my number 5. Number 4 for me, this is a really good kill, again, because it's funny. Shame about the film, because it is from part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, but it's the one in which this chap gets his head literally punched off by Jason. He has a good go at Jason, and he is probably the only likeable character in the film, but he gives Jason a good few rounds himself. Jason really isn't stunned by it at all, and then he just grabs him once this guy's knackered himself out, and he punches his head off, literally punches it off. Yeah, didn't see that coming, and when it happened, yeah, what can I say? It made me chuckle. Number 3 is from Jason Goes to Hell. A lot of people don't like this film in the franchise. I actually think it's somewhere around the middle. Yeah, it's the one in which a couple who are having sex in a tent get rudely interrupted by Jason, and he basically forces this spike through the woman, and then just to go that little bit further and add a really over-the-top moment of gore, he kind of rips it right up through her and tears her in half. And it kind of reminds me of the bit in Terminator 2 when Arnie kind of rams that spike down through the T-1000. But yeah, this being a human being, it doesn't kind of piece itself back together. Instead, we just get a load of blood spluttering all over the guy she was just having sex with. But I like it because it's so over the top, again, as I say, and it's just quite amusing to see this couple in the throes of it, and then yeah, rudely interrupted in the worst possible way. Number 2, and again, this is probably my least favourite in the franchise, Jason X. Not a good film, but as seems to be the case in these, the ones that aren't the best films seem to often have the best kills. Maybe that's because that's all they've got going for them. But it's the one you can probably guess which one it is. If I'm talking about Jason X, it's the liquid nitrogen one. So yeah, this woman gets grabbed by Jason, her head gets stuffed into a vat of liquid nitrogen, and it freezes instantly as she's screaming. So I like that effect. I like that you see her face freeze mid-scream, and then Jason just plucks her out, smashes her head on the counter, and it pretty much erupts into a million pieces. It's brutal, it's over the top, and it's mildly amusing. Which brings me to my number one choice, which is from Friday the 13th Part 3, and it's this guy who seems to have this random habit of standing on his hands. That alone makes him annoying and worthy of being killed. Yeah, and he gets killed as he's standing on his hands. So this annoying trait he has kind of becomes his downfall. But the way that it's done, it's literally one of them moments where you go, ooh, especially as a guy. Yeah, he stood on his hands, Jason comes up behind him and just machete straight through the middle, right through the balls, and you just, and the way it's shot, the way it's edited, it comes out of nowhere. You kind of not expecting it, to be honest, and it's brutal, it's funny, and yeah, it's kind of what you want from a franchise like this. But there you go, that is my top 5 kills. Very random, I know. As I say, come over to my channel and check out Graham's top 5. Thank you, Graham, for having me in your video, mate. Nice one. I'll let you get back to it.
So I'll see you next time, Man v Film, and remember to pop over to Bryan's channel and subscribe and give him some support. Thanks for watching.